Hey, what's going on? E. Jones, bottom to the top hoops.
Black Elvis, it's your boy. We in the building. What's good?
You already know you rocking that peach cobbler today.
Oh, you already see it.
You know what I mean? That new bottom to the top gear coming to an online boutique near you.
It's coming.
You heard. So L, obviously another week, another episode. Want to get into some stuff that we think is going to help some people. Gotta bring my boy back on the camera, and it's only right, and it's fitting for this episode.
Absolutely.
So that said, man, first of all, man, we're going to touch on something today that somebody who was very near and dear to our hearts, who we lost suddenly. Obviously there was a good friend of yours, so I'll let you intro it and kind of talk about it, and then we'll get into it.
Okay. Well, pretty much what we wanted to do, we wanted to create a show, just highlighting a good friend of ours, Zaya Johnson.
We wanted to just be able to talk about a celebration of life. Obviously a very good friend of yours, so I'll just let you kind of tee it up and we'll get into it.
Well, definitely his name is Zaya Johnson, man. Really good friend of ours, actually. Just caught us by surprise, So one thing we all have to understand is you never know when your last days is here or around the corner. So we gotta live life to the fullest. And the people that you love, you gotta let them know you love them, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because life is short. I've heard that. I've said that. But within the last week, I know it now.
It came to our doorstep, and you gave me the call, and I was in shock and I was in disbelief. And big shout out to his wife, his sister, his son Zaza, who's been talked about and featured on this show as well. And their whole family, because this is a tremendous loss. The whole east side of Harlem, Neek Bucks, who, he was like a big brother to Neek, father figure even, and all of the people who knew and loved Zai. We just wanted to take a moment and talk about, the beauty of the way he lived.
Yeah, definitely. Well, one thing I can definitely say is he was always listening and always seeking information. That's what I loved about him.
Yep. And when you introduced me to him, I had already knew of him, but I hadn't had a formal introduction. And you know how it is in New York City. You show love to people who show love to you.
Absolutely.
And simply you keep it pushing. But when you introduced me to him, I had known him from Together We Chill. When he used to put those monster crews together, Kerry Thompson, A-Train, Dana Dingle, to name a few. And he was bringing those guys, to Wagner, and they was putting on a show, and he took pride in that.
Yeah, he took pride in that.
So I always knew that he had a love for basketball.
Definitely.
And all of the people who played for him, they still had relationships.
Yeah.
Because we would talk about, me training his son. They would always ask about him, and he was very humble about the things that he did and his accomplishments in life and all of those things. And talk a little bit about the person that he was coming up, because I know you guys have known each other since childhood.
I mean, like you said, he never really played ball.
Okay.
But he was definitely involved with ball. I remember me and Kojo, we played in Citywide years ago.
Kojo Lockhart.
Kojo Lockhart, shout out to Kojo. And I looked over and it was Zion, 4 or 5 other people from Wagner. Kenny Hutch was there. Who else was there? I don't think Steve Bowe was there. It was somebody else there.
They played hard.
But they came to show love and watch the young boys get busy.
Right.
It's always been that type of relationship. Now, I can tell a story.
Okay.
So I go down to Wagner one day. I'm going to check my man Kojo with 2 baby.
Yeah.
And I see Zai. He like, yo, what you doing? Yo, you wildin'. Yo, you ain't dressed. I'm like, dressed for what? He like, we all going to the tunnel. And I'm like, oh, word? He like, yeah. I'm like, man, I ain't got it. Yo, L, we ain't trying to hear that. Yo, go to Cold Crib, do what you got to do. We're going to meet on 2nd Avenue at 10:30.
Okay, now hold on. How old was you and how old was he?
Well, Zai has me a couple of months.
Okay.
1 month, actually. He's April 22nd. My birthday is May 18th.
Okay.
So, basically, we're the same age. Then I was 15. So, the story I'm telling you is this is a 15-year-old kid who's taking 30 people to the tunnel, paying for everybody's bottles and all. But majority of the people that went was probably over 30. Double our age.
Right. So he was always showing love.
Yeah, he was always showing love, and there was a stigma around him, but at the end of the day, once you get to know him, you seen that was to keep you away.
Because his presence, right? When he walked in the building, he had a no-nonsense attitude because, number one, he was always with his son. It's the one thing that I always saw. And he was protective of his son. And he always wanted the best for him. He pushed him academically, which was really important for him. Definitely. He pushed him athletically, and he wanted to keep him around the best.
Yeah.
He wanted to seek out the best trainers, the best coaches, the best programs, and he would give up the thing that I think is the most valuable, and that was his time.
Yeah.
He was present in his son's life. His son is 13 now, and he always was there and available. And he would be with him on trips and be with him at practice, and they would join it at the hip, and they had a special relationship. And I'll just give a small story.
Yeah.
He had texted me one day, and he was asking for advice about his son and basketball and the direction, and he was like, seeing down the road. And he was asking me about professional basketball and college basketball, and it was all confusing to him. So we was texting back and forth, and when you get into long text, you're like, hold on a second, man.
Might as well call.
I'm gonna just call. So we got on the phone, and he was like, yo, I appreciate your time. He was always so humble. And after it all came through and he expressed himself, I said, Zah, check this out, man. He's 12. And he was like, I get it, E. You're right. And that was who he was, right? Like, opinionated, very confident, but humble.
Yeah.
And always an active listener. So, man, rest in peace. Shout out to you, Zah. Thank you for being a great friend, a great brother, a leader, and a supporter of many in the community. You'll be missed. We're going to celebrate you, man. And we're going to make sure we take care of the family and hold little Zahs out there.
Hold little Zahs out there.
So Al, that brings us to, I guess, a topic that kind of makes the most sense, and that's, parents with their children, especially being a parent of a child that plays sports.
Yeah.
So we've touched on it on the show many a times, but I would like to take a deeper dive because I think it's significant and I think it's important to kind of talk about how you strike that balance. Now, again, we're prefacing this by saying neither one of us are parents.
Absolutely.
So we have a unique perspective to be able to judge it from a perspective of looking from the outside looking in. So some people may say, well, you don't know how it is. But that may be better sometimes to help some people who are in that situation, because as you said to me earlier, it's hard to be in the picture and also see it clearly.
Absolutely.
So what is one of the things that you've seen that's kind of like a ultimate red flag when you see a parent going down the wrong road with a child who's playing sports?
I see it all the time. Parents are stepping past the line.
Okay.
They feel that, I guess the coach doesn't know because they always feel the need to chime in or say something or complain. Those are parents that coaches and programs want to stay away from. So as a parent, we're here to tell you, don't be that type of parent.
So, I mean, it happens with trainers too.
Trainers too.
They're jumping in the session. And I've seen you. Hold on a second. Stop the whole workout.
Absolutely.
Listen here, bro. And you got to get right to it.
Yeah.
And set the tone the first time they do it to let them know it's not okay for you to interrupt my session. And like if you want to say something after you have a question.
Absolutely.
But that's not the right time to be chiming in.
No.
So I'm going to touch on something that I think that I've seen that was actually a positive.
Okay.
And those are parents who encourage their children, regardless of win, loss, a great game, a bad game, whatever the case may be. They always start with something positive, with communication with their child, and lead with love, regardless of what happened. The kid is frustrated, he lost the game and he didn't play well, she didn't play well. Listen, you know I love you, let's get something to eat. It's only one game. You know, we could talk about, you know, how we could, but let's table this right now.
Yeah.
Like, I want to be your dad right now.
Yeah.
And we could get back to basketball later. There's always time for that. And if you're passionate and you love the game, and it could be any sport, it's hard to strike that balance and be able to have, but a child needs that because they are looking for direction. Because ultimately, your reaction to those things are probably going to be their reaction to the things.
Absolutely.
When they get older.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And you know, my dad, and anybody who knows my dad, he was a G.
Yeah.
You know, he was the ultimate, kick you out of practice, get out of here, I don't need you. His favorite saying, L, is, ball players come a dime a dozen. You know what he told one dude? Ball players is like the bus. You miss one, another one's coming in 10 minutes. So
shout out to Mr. Sam.
So, but, you know, in stark contrast to that, he would come and watch me play, and he would be a church mouse. He wouldn't say a word, and he never got in Dave Jones, Tommy Sweeten, or Dave Jones's way in coaching me. As a matter of fact, if I did something out of pocket, he was co-signing what they were saying, and I was like, yo, dudes wasn't passing me the ball. I don't want to ever see you suck your teeth again, or you going to have a problem with me when this game is over. That's how he gave it up, right? So he's in support of the coach. Now, if he had an issue with the coach, I would never know.
Yeah.
You know what he told me, Al? He said, if you're a ball player, I don't got to say nothing for you. Your game's going to do the talking.
It's a fact.
I'll just come in and watch. I'm a spectator.
That's a fact. You know, what you saying that, you triggered something. And I just want to chime in for a minute. You know, when we played ball, our parents was not so involved, but it seems that we all got scholarships, we all play ball, but I don't see the difference now with these parents over the line, but they're getting less results than we got when my parents didn't even come to my games. So it's like, when you had championship games and major games, that's when everybody put on for you and came out and supported you. But like, you have parents today that go to every game. Like, my parents didn't have the time to be at every game, for one. For two, my parents didn't care that much. Like, dude, that's your pastime. Like, I'm not trying to live vicariously through you, so there's no reason for me to be like adjusting my entire day around a 12-year-old's game.
So you want to peel back this onion?
Now, I need your feedback.
Well, it's so multi-layered because the access now, more outlets and games and social media, the parents actually get a chance to have a name for themselves who may not have had a name. So they're big through their kids.
I thought of one person, wow, they probably had not had no success really as a ball player, but through their child, they're popping.
Popping, right? And then they have a voice.
Yeah.
Because now I get to say where my son goes, so you gotta talk to me
You
nice.
gotta talk to me nice.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's that part. And then, you know, we're in a different age. This is a you know what I mean? DIY, do it yourself. DIY, well, this is a DIY, do it yourself. So now, in this age, parents have time. They're entrepreneurs. People who are, you know what I mean? They're creative with their schedule. So they and again, I encourage supporting children. But in that support, there's definitely a balance you have to strike. And like you said, some people are going over the line. Some people may be totally not involved because, again, I wanted my moms to come to my games. But she was like, yo, are you doing your schoolwork? Right? You being respectful? You staying away from the knuckleheads in the street? After that, I'm good.
Yeah.
That basketball thing, that's all you. Talk to your father.
Talk to your father. He was in the ocean. That's what I got from my mom.
You know what I mean? So
Talk to your brothers.
She may have been at maybe 5 games, and then I found out afterwards. My mom's told me she was nervous She said she just couldn't sit still watching me play, so she wouldn't come to the games on purpose. So it's all kind of things that that go into it. But ultimately, you just want to be able to watch your kids, enjoy watching them grow up, and almost like watch them struggle and see how they react.
That's another good point I'm about to make. Let me ask you this question. Do you feel that parents of this era are enabling their children?
Some, for sure.
More so than our era.
Oh, for sure, because they're just more involved.
I don't remember my parent. I lived.
Well, I was taking the bus at 9 to school across town.
Yeah, but my dude, this is.
You might have been downtown in Brooklyn at 7.
But
taking the train.
Come on, let's be real now. Hold on, let's be real. Where real is that? I think this is great dialogue. So, I have a sister. I have a friend. People I know. Kids are 13 and 14 and they're dropping them off everywhere. They're not allowing them to ride the train or travel on their own. But then I think when I was 12 and 13, going from Bronx River to Riverside Church, taking the 2 train from 174th to 96th Street and getting on the 1 coming back. All of that by myself, I'm 12, 13.
But people was getting bodied on the train now. People was getting sliced on the train now. So again, it's a balance, right? Like,
Eric Adams, we need your help.
And that's his commitment, right? Like, we're gonna make it safe to ride on the trains. We're gonna, get our city back. And we know, like, for whatever it was what people liked or disliked Rudy Giuliani, like when he was here, he was like, yo, it's zero tolerance. We giving you time for everything. So he was the criminal justice mayor. So on de Blasio's watch, crime rates went up, suicides went up, homicides went up. All of these things are happening, so it's almost like parents are nervous. So they leave their child, and that's one thing that my mom's told me is like, when you set your child off to go out into the world, the only hope is that your child comes back. And then when you see a, God bless Ahmaud Arbery, even though he was older, like, that's a moms who will never see their child again, and all he was doing was going for a run.
Just going for a job.
Right? So there's a part where it's like maybe like y'all travel in a group, so y'all, you know what I'm saying? And like, it was different. Like, it wasn't even a question for me, like, I'm going over to Wagner and I'm going by myself on the 29 bus or whatever. That wasn't a big deal, but now it's so different. And parents just feel like they need to have, like.
I'm glad you said that, because I didn't think of it that way, but only thing I seen was just a bunch of people enabling children, so by the time they're young adults, they don't know what to do. They don't know how to move. They don't know how to think for themselves. When you are 13 and your parent has nothing to do with your basketball, guess what you're doing as a child?
Figuring it out.
You're figuring it out. So now you have children, though, so it's got to be balanced is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And that's the purpose of this conversation. It has to be balanced, because now you have parents who's doing all, but then now kids are 18, 19 years old, and they pretty much have a bum mentality because everything was given to them. You laughing, it's dead serious.
The choice of word is everything. You said a bum mentality.
Yeah, it's true.
So I get it though. I get it. Like, you don't want a kid to not be able to fend for themselves. You don't want a kid to be able to say, like, how do I cook an egg?
That type of, that's what I'm talking about.
Right. I'll leave you with this one, Al. A guy from our era is a parent. He says to me, yo, I want to take my son to the hood and go talk to one of the kids in the hood just to start a fight with him so I can see how he reacts. So I'm saying, well, why would you do that? I said, well, what if he gets punched in the face? I just want to see. I ain't going to let it go too far. That's extreme to me.
Yeah.
You like, what to me?
That's extreme.
No, but listen.
But if I got my kid guarded And I'm from the hood, and I understand that my kid's gonna be tested eventually. So he has to know how
You want him to get punched in the face.
I'm throwing him in the fire. I don't want him to get punched in the face, but I'm
But
throwing
that's
him in
what
the
my man
fire.
said. Like, yo, I'm gonna tell this kid to start.
But you have to understand.
It's something. It does something for you because we grew up in Bronx River, Washington Ave, Claremont, Soundview, Wagner. You know what I'm saying? 44th and Amsterdam. That was our hoods, and those are my guys still to this day. Mm-hmm. And because of those situations, yeah, I'm professional and I'm refined, but at the end of the day, I know how to move.
Yeah. In
a room full of vultures.
But this is, you keep saying things that's triggering. So look how you just said how you move in a room. If you never allow your child to be out, guess what? They're not going to know how to move in a room full of vultures. You have to build towards that. You got to be in a room and uncomfortable and say, yo, something don't look right about this guy. I'm out of here. But if you never put in that situation, you just like, this guy looks weird. Next thing you know, you understand what I'm saying?
Yo, but that's real though, man. Like, you know, we was together a couple of times, and I'm like, yo, yeah, I'm out. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But
I've been, yo, we've been in situations. He's like, don't like how it looks? Hell, I'm out. You out? What you doing? I'm out.
I'm there for 2 minutes. I'm gone. Nah, man, no funny money for me. But you know, to that point, man, I hear what you're saying, and I think in summary, put your children in situations where there's gonna be some tests. Mm-hmm. Obviously, keep them guarded and keep them safe, but allow them to go through things and to some point struggle. Because the struggle is what
builds character.
It does.
Builds character.
And you get fortitude from it, and you come out better served for it, and then you have the knowledge of how to deal in situations that are adverse. Because if not, you know, that's when you get the kids who in pressure situations really like go off the deep end. Mm-hmm. God forbid, you know, something happens and they don't know how to handle that adversity. So there is no right or wrong answer on how to parent. Everybody has their choice. When we talk about these topics, we're talking about obviously how it relates to sports, but it's just life in general that we talk about on the show, and hopefully our perspective and the balance of our perspective and coming from a place of help.
Yes.
And just trying to be a voice. Mm-hmm. You know, it's received with the proper context.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I'll close with this, E. I hope nobody feels any kind of way about the dialogue that's being said. And if you do, then that means you're probably guilty. Because you wouldn't feel any kind of way if you're not guilty, because you would be able to hear it and say, you know what, I do enable my child. And I'm just making this point because we have to stop. You want to enable your child of reading. You know, like things of that nature. No, you can't go outside till you finish the book. I'd rather that. But just allowing your child to like never be by himself or herself, like guarding them, never giving them more than an hour. And you have to watch your children. Don't misunderstand me now, because I don't want this to be taken out of context. You know, but I'm just saying, you can see now in this era how many children are actually enabled with more resources and money.
In certain cases.
Yeah, in certain cases.
That being said, man, we're going to circle back to why we're here today. Mm-hmm. Rest in peace to my God, to our God, Zaya Johnson. We will always hold you in our hearts and our memories. We will make sure that your son gets sound advice. We're available, and we give him as much knowledge and tutelage as we can in your memory. This show is dedicated to you, and a big shout out to everybody who helps us make this happen.
Absolutely. Big shout out to Zai, man. You know, rest in peace, man. We here, we're going to do what we can for your son, man, but more importantly, look over us, man.
Yes, sir. Thanks to the man upstairs.
Absolutely. Well, I ain't finished. I thought you was going to close us out. And
No, we closed. That's it.
we closed. That's it.
We closed. That's
Well,
how Joe Button said.
Awesome.
Close it.
Close it. Thanks to the big guy upstairs. Big shout out to Darnell Lee, Kai. We just keeping it moving.
Yes, sir.